to do with him? What to do with? We'll ask Ron Wotus at 8:30. He's going to join us. Whoa, 3-time World Series chat. Wotus. I'm still disappointed he never got a manager job. Job as a manager. I thought he deserved one. He would have been perfect after Bruce Bochy, but it is what it is. He's happy. We're all happy for Wotus. He's on Giants pre- and post-game, still around the team. But we'll talk to him at 8:30 because he took infield and helped Crawford become the Gold Glover he was and hit the fungo batter, whatever you like to say, Shasky. He will have thoughts on Marco Luciano, what's going on, what he's doing. That's the fundamental flaw in his game at shortstop. Because I just can't over. We want the young kids to play, and Montes and Ramos are taking advantage of the opportunity. What is Ramos now? 18 straight games he's been on base?
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
So, like, it's funny. The fielding a ground ball, there's many ways to do it. There's different body types. Some are better than others. But at the core of almost every great infielder, to me, is great feet. We can talk about hands till we're blue in the face, right? The great ones obviously have great hands, but to me, it starts with their footwork and your setup and understanding how to get a hop. And I look at the great players that have played the position throughout the years, whether we're talking about Jeter or A-Rod. And Jeter had, his weaknesses. Omar Vizquel. Look at the current landscape of all the great infielders that are out there, but specifically at shortstop. They never get a bad hop because their footwork allows them to either come up and get a short hop or to play it on the long hop just right and give enough depth so that they catch it either waist high or ready to unload. The guy just doesn't have great feet currently. Yeah. And I don't think he understands how to read the hops. I think that when it comes to the actual glove work, he's kind of got a brick for hands, and I don't love his arm, and I don't love his arm slot. Right. So we could talk about all these different things that he's not doing, but I feel like Bob Melvin yesterday, and look, maybe he did have some kind of hammy thing. That might be baked into it. I think Bob was saving him from himself.
Yeah, I do too. And you know what? This one is disappointing because this is the prospect we have talked up around here for a very long time. Gary Brown vibes. Gary Brown,
Gary Brown never hit.
He never hit.
Gary Brown never hit.
But the hype though with Gary Brown.
That's
Gary
true.
Brown, Gary Brown, Gary Brown, Gary Brown. I believed it. Yeah, he didn't hit, and I was like, all right, let's see it first. Mm-hmm. But he was hyped up. Let's not be. We talked about him.
Might be more hyped.
Oh my gosh, that's what I'm saying, Luciano.
Yeah.
And this is now.
And maybe
that's why I'm saying it kind of reminds me of the Gary Brown movement, where I'm thinking about the last prospect who was really hyped up that didn't pan out. Like
Joey Bart, but that's
Joey Bart, you know what I'm saying? Number 2 overall pick. Yeah. At least we saw it. We saw it played. Okay, maybe this guy's not a player. He's got to move on from him. Farhan's not filling him. You draft the catcher anyway. Patrick Bailey, you look like you made the right decision at the catcher spot. We can move off of Joey Bart, just like we could move off of Trey Lance because of Brock Purdy. But Marco Luciano was the guy who's supposed to be the guy. And he's the reason, like Crawford was talking, and I know Crawford only has 3 hits in St. Louis. He's not playing much at all. But he's like, look, I would have mentored Luciano. We all thought coming into the season he was going to be your starting shortstop. And now we see why Nick Ahmed was signed and why he took the job. This guy's not ready to go. And just, listen, I'm going to play this again. After he committed the error where he takes too long and Scott beats out the throw on the routine grounder, here's Kruk as he reacts to it. Then I'm going to play Kruk and Kipe as they watch the replay of it. Listen to the way they reacted to this.
Well, I mean, he gets the ball, and he has a little extra shuffle step. He takes his time, and he didn't have it. I mean, it's really an example of a rookie that doesn't know his opponent. He doesn't know Stott's got that kind of speed. You cannot give this Phillies team extra outs.
Here's Kruk and Kipe as they watch the replay.
Well, I think you and I saw it the same way, Mike, is there wasn't urgency in this at all. So right now you got to be urgent.
Just a mistake.
I just have never heard Kuiper in particular inflect his voice on a mistake like that for a player. Like, that was powerful for me.
Powerful.
And when I heard him do that, like, to me, it's like, okay, this is something either he knows about internally or he's been feeling as he's watching. He's a former second baseman. He knows what it takes to play infield. He's watched some great ones. And you could sense the frustration. The other part of this, though, like, as I'm watching Luciano, it's not like he's a complete lost player.
No.
There are things he does well. This is where he kind of reminds me of Kuminga in the sense that, like, he does good things. The bat is pretty legit.
Yeah.
Like, the bat, no, it's a small sample size. I'm not here to say, like, the guy's going to change the game as a hitter. We're talking about a couple weeks worth of inventory. But defensively, you cannot play a guy like that who is costing you that much. But at the same time, he does bring things to the table. He's got a little bit of speed on the base pass, and he can hit a little.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a role, though, currently on this team when you've paid Soler what you've paid him to play DH, and you have Wilmer Flores who could play a little DH. Like, you have more veteran players with longer track records. To me, he is the logical guy to go down. Here's where I'm saying, though, like, yes, he's not playing good defense. It's unacceptable. They can't have him out there. It's going to cost them. But we do need to be a little more gracious in how we're breaking it down for the young man. I feel like we're not everyone, but I feel like we're just crushing this guy. He's got the yips. He's Steve Sex. It's his second stint up.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go crazy because we've been hyped up, and this guy has been quote unquote the top prospect for many years. And been waiting on it, and this is what we see. There's not a lot of patience when it comes to pro sports. That's what we got to realize.
Goes back to the money. I feel like to me.
Well, it goes back to the money, but it's just it's the nature of pro sports.
That's true.
Things are so. You're Matt Chapman. You have an opt out. You got money on the line. You're trying to get back to the playoffs. Bob Melvin, hired away from San Diego, doesn't work out in San Diego. He got a sniff in the NLCS. They get bowed out. He's desperate to win. Farhad Zaidi sitting up in that chair. He is desperate to win. He told Susan Slusser again, I know you guys are getting hungry out there, but the stakes are high for this team. And when the stakes are high and the expectations are high for the ball club, you don't have time to be patient for a 22-year-old to make plays. Those veterans in the clubhouse, although they feel bad for Marco Luciano, and they'll pick him up. I guarantee you behind the scenes they're saying, we can't play this guy. Because it got to a point with James Wiseman, right? It got to a point where James Wiseman finally got traded. During those previous 3 months with James Wiseman, there was a point where the veteran said, this guy can't be on the court with us. He's not ready to roll. Well, and every time you throw him on the court, James Wiseman, I miss you, Big James. I miss you. Listen, it got to a point where the veterans like, we can't play with this guy. He's costing us wins, and we're trying to get to his destination to where this guy can't help us. He's an anchor in the ship. Yeah. He's holding us down. Well, the same thing in this clubhouse, Shasky. They're probably thinking, those veterans, I like the kid, but we can't play him.
No, I think that's a fair point. Like, I look at Anthony Volpe, right, who was playing with New York last year. He was scrutinized. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
One of their
Yankees
top picks. He did hit 21 homers. The guy struck out almost 200 times. And he had 17 errors last year. And he's a great fielder. I think he's excellent. I think he's only going to get better. He's going to get better. He's having a much better year this year than last year. He batted 209 last year. But why did he stay in the lineup? Even though he had the 17 errors, he has unreal range. He turns a lot of double plays for that team. And he did get enough hits to keep himself in the lineup. Right now, the glove is so deficient for Luciano, I don't think you can make an argument for him to play in the field.
Right.
It's that simple.
It's that bad. It's that bad.
And it sucks, but the reality is that he needs a ton more work, and he's just, I don't see, and I don't want to say never is never because he's 22. I don't see a shortstop footwork. I don't see shortstop arms. I don't see shortstop instincts. It's one of the premier defensive positions in all of sports, and I don't see those from him. But the bat is good. I just don't think the bat is good enough to warrant a roster spot right now, given he doesn't have a defensive spot.
Well, it may be right field. It may be left field for him in the future. Maybe even left field where he could use that arm, and we'll see about that. But right now, he's just not looking good. Maybe you keep him up and you get the bat. Maybe he's a pitch runner, but I don't think he got room here. And it makes sense on why he wasn't called up right away when guys got hurt. Luciano, Montos and Ramos got called up. Then Luciano a couple days later. It makes sense. They were not ready to bring him up because the kid is not ready to go.
Yeah.
It's not being hard on him. It's just, it is what it is. And in the business of pro sports, especially for youngsters, because veterans are saying they know what it takes to get there. And veterans, they look at it as if time's running out for me. Whether it's to win, whether it's to get new money, a new contract, but we got to go out there and look good. And by playing this kid, we're not looking good here. We're just not.
Well, and then I look at, I got the producer in my ear here, Kenny, and he makes a good point. We've talked about this. Like Fernando Tatis Jr., the first ever weekend that we saw him at the Bigs was against the Giants. Remember that? I watched one game and I was like, oh my God. Athleticism pops, the charisma. Now, he was
a factor.
No doubt. He was so good offensively. It's like, we'll find a spot for him. And then defensively, he did make a lot of errors. Yep. But what he has that Luciano doesn't have, unbelievable footwork, right? Even though he's a brick with the glove, and then they moved him to right field. They signed Xander Bogaerts to play shortstop. What ended up happening? They've now moved him to second base. You know why? Because Kim plays a better defensive shortstop. Philadelphia right now, they signed Trey Turner to a 10-year deal. There is people, Joe Giglio, is that his name?
Yeah.
On air, who is like, maybe we move Trey Turner to the outfield because this other kid, who's playing shortstop, gets to more balls.
Maybe. Didn't Trey Turner play second base when he got traded to the Dodgers?
He was a second. In college, he played second, and it was the Washington Nationals.
So that's always been baked into the equation that he would eventually turn into an outfielder or second baseman. Not the worst thing in the world, just because you get your position switched. Not the worst thing in the world to do that. And you can fill another hole by saying, you know what? He's a weakness here, but maybe he's a strength over here. And that's what the Padres did with Tatis.
Yes.
That's what the Phillies may do. The Dodgers, they said, boy, we got a hole at shortstop. Let's go ahead and move Mookie Betts there. Now, Mookie Betts may not be playing the greatest shortstop. I hear he's not playing the greatest shortstop.
No,
but you know what? The bat is so crazy that we don't even care. We don't even care.
So, like Fernando Tatis Jr., I mean, like, I'm looking at him. I'm just looking at his years. His rookie year, he hit 22 home runs and 53 RBIs. Okay? And batted .317 in 85 games. That's an unbelievable rookie year. So, like, to say that Luciano's on that level offensively, I haven't seen enough. And I don't think he's got that kind of pop. That doesn't mean he can't develop into that. But at 20 years old, that's what Fernando Tatis Jr. was doing while playing shortstop every single day. So I hear everybody, like the bat, and I like the bat, but there's levels to a good bat.
Right.
Yes, his bat is better than what we've seen. I think his bat's better than Nick Ahmed right now, but Nick Ahmed plays a steadier shortstop. And when you're pitching on the mound and you're Jordan Hicks or you're Kyle Harrison and you get a ground ball to second or to short, you got to get out of that inning with a double play or a play made at first.
Well, we saw it at Pittsburgh. We saw it at Citi Field. We saw it yesterday. We see it all weekend long. He's just not ready to roll. He's not ready to roll. He's not ready to roll. It is what it is. So it's not about crushing the guy. It's just saying that you're not ready. And here's a realistic aspect of the Luciano situation.
I feel bad for him.
Well, you know,
because it's lonely when you make errors like that. Just real quick. Like, baseball is masqueraded as a team sport. It's an individual sport. And when you make a mistake, whether it's at the youth level or whatever, you're out there all alone, and all other the 8 dudes are looking at you like, come on, man.
And it's tough, man. And I guarantee you get into that locker room, you get into that clubhouse, and you're at your locker stall, guys just walking right past you.
No doubt.
Or
it's
they
lonely,
just tap you on the
dude.
shoulder and say, hey, pick your head up. But it's actually, guys are not, you know what, this guy cost us a game. This guy made this. You know, Pittsburgh, I wonder how it was in Pittsburgh for him. I would love to hear FP Santangelo on that. We'll talk to Wotus on what it's like committing an error. How do you pick him up? How do you pick a kid up like that when he's making errors left and right? And he knows, boy, I'm playing for my job. I'm trying to stick with the big leagues. This ain't working. And it's going south, not going north. He's not ascending. He's descending.
In basketball, like, you're constantly moving, right? And there's some stoppage in play, but you're not thinking as much. Baseball, you're standing there and you're thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And it's very much like putting in golf, where you can get in your own dome. And then what do you try to do? Let me try to overcompensate on my 3 at-bats, right? And so it bleeds over to your entire game. And the worst part about it is when you are not catching the ball well, not throwing the ball well, you become a magnet out there. The ball keeps finding you. It's like the golden rule. You make a mistake, guess what? You better make the next play, because the ball will find you almost immediately. It's a lonely existence out there when you're making mistakes defensively.
No, it is. It is. So, look, these two guys, Harrison and Luciano, they were on display yesterday. I don't see the it factor for both guys. Harrison's pitched fine. He's starting to hit a little bump in the road. Let's see how he bounces back and gets Arizona out in Phoenix. That's going to be a tough place to pitch for him. KD do it. KD turned the season around. He's not stretched out. He's walking guys. He gave up 12 hits yesterday in 5 innings. That's just not good enough
against a really good lineup.
Against a really good, but you gave up 12 hits in 5 innings and a couple walks. It's not good. So he's scuffling right now. Opposing hitters, man, they're tagging his fastball. They hit the fastball a lot. 15 balls in play off the fastball. I mean, he's got to find a secondary pitch. And Luciano, he just may have to get ready for Sacramento. He may have to get ready for that Amtrak ride up north and start playing at Southern Health Park. It's not a bad thing. He's just not ready to go. And since he's not ready to go, and the Giants are trying to go places, again, Dave Fleming, the end goal is the playoffs.
Yes.
It's the playoffs. So automatically my mind goes to, if Luciano can't contribute in the short term, Farhan is basically, I feel like he's on the clock right now. Now, I know Greg Johnson sat down with Tim Kawakami in the podcast. I didn't hear much of it. I know they talked about Farhan. Maybe there's something there. But Farhan's basically, his job's on the line.
Farhan's cooked.
Bo Mel. Bo Mel.
He's got some of the best drops ever.
Bob Melvin is managing, like you heard from Fleming. I didn't know he was this edgy. That tells me he wants to win. He believes he has the talent in there to win. So with all that said with Luciano, you're telling me that Farhan is not shopping him? Or saying, okay, if Bo Bichette is available, or if Vlad Jr. or Pete Alonso, who got a CAT scan yesterday, apparently they came back normal. He's getting a CT scan today after being hit by a pitch on the head yesterday for the New York Mets and their loss to the Dodgers. They got blown out at Citi Field against the Dodgers. Maybe Farhan is saying, okay, now I can flip Luciano. Now I can flip him to try to get something.
I mean,
that's where my mind goes. If he's not ready to contribute now, and his team wants to win,
I think a lot of people
like Lamar Wade Jr. is playing for his career with the Giants.
No doubt.
Mike Yashivsky is playing for. He may not ever get an opportunity to start on a day-to-day basis.
Ramos, who's out of options.
Ramos, out of options.
You don't think he's sitting there looking at Luciano like, man, I don't get as many opportunities as you.
Right. I got to play.
Yeah,
I got to play well.
I hear ya.
Luis Matos, I'm auditioning for next season.
No question.
You know what I'm saying? Tyro Estrada, I don't know if I'm the long-term second baseman here.
Point.
I got to play hard. Matt Chapman, I got options left and right. I don't know if I'm going to be here. You don't have time to wait. And so with Brett Wisely playing better, with Nick Ahmed on the come up here, he's about to return soon. Michael Conforto is playing for his job. He's playing, you know what I'm saying? Soler, we got to see what he is. Luciano, I think he's going to get dangled, and I think it's going to be part of a move. The Giants make a move. I really do. I don't see him finish. I don't see him finishing the season with the Giants now.
I think a lot of people feel like you do. It would be the biggest prospect trade since
James